It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the three big movies of March 2nd, 2007. And these are three pretty big movies. We've got a star-studded biker road comedy with Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence, and John Travolta leading the cast, along with William H. Macy and a couple of other notable names you'll recognize. We also have another ensemble star-studded movie, David Fincher's Zodiac, and also Samuel L. Jackson, Christina Ricci, and Justin Timberlake in Black Snake Moan. A lot of movies to get to here, a lot of exciting movies to get to, I should say, but let's just get right to the biggest new release of the weekend, and that was, without a doubt, the comedy Wild Hogs. I kind of like this movie. It's not a great movie overall. It's a very stupid comedy, but sometimes a good stupid comedy can work. This is a movie where you have four middle-aged men played by Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence, John Travolta, William H. Macy. They decide to take a road trip from Cincinnati to the Pacific in order to get away from their lives, which are leading them nowhere. Taking their motorcycles, these wild hogs tear up the road and eventually stop in New Mexico for a drink, not knowing that the bar belongs to the Del Fuegos, a mean biker club. When the Del Fuegos steal a bike that belongs to the wild hogs, the four men form a plan to steal the bike back, and shenanigans ensue. John Travolta blows the bar up, they go after them, and it just turns into like a big battle between the two bike gangs in general. And a lot of stars in this movie. I mean, not just the four big stars here. You have Marissa Tomei, Jill Hennessy, who was then on Crossing Jordan, the late Ray Liotta, Stephen Tobolowsky, MC Gainey, Kevin Durant, Tashina Arnold from Everybody Hates Chris, the Schuyler brothers, as I mentioned, John C. McGinley, Peter Fonda has a cameo in this movie. So a lot of big names all throughout this movie, and that was actually part of the plan when they made the movie. The producer of this is Brian Robbins, who we've talked about a couple of his movies beforehand. Of course, he directed Norbit, which was not a big hit, but according to him, he believed that the casting was essential to the success of the film and emphasized the importance of working with movie stars. And, I mean, when you got guys like Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence, and John Travolta and William H. Macy all in one movie, I mean, it's going to pay dividends for you. And this was a massive, massive hit when it came out. I mean, much more than I think anybody was ever expecting it to. And, it works because it's a fun, silly comedy with these big, notable names involved. I thought it was really funny. I think it is a very stupid, funny movie. I mean, John Travolta in the beginning of the movie, when he's getting mad at this kid for not picking up all the leaves, and he's just like, "Oh, grow up, Toby." It just like that's an Academy Award nominated actor saying that to a little kid. Like, it's like, that he's having the time of his life playing it much down than he usually does with more serious works. Again, there are jokes that don't really work. William H. Macy, you see it in the trailer with the computer and all that, talking about, I should be looking up alternative specs, and just like searching alternative sex. Like that thing just gets really old really fast. And there are jokes like that do get really, really old really, really fast. And ordinarily, I would not like this movie, but the guys in this movie are so committed to it. The four main heavyweights in here, they're so committed to this, and they know exactly what this movie is, and they're delivering what makes them work so well, and it works really well to the film itself. It's a very silly, funny movie where not everything about it works, but if you go into it with the right mindset, if you're just looking for a dumb, silly, stupid, fun comedy, you can have a good time with it. There are moments in here that made me legitimately laugh out loud. There's one moment at the end of the movie with the Schuyler brothers, who you might remember from the Oblongs. They were the brothers who were conjoined with three legs and like attached together, like they both shared the same stomach and all that. Like it was literally just one had like the face and body, and then the other also had the face and body, and they just had three legs, and I mean, they have a great little bit of a running gag in the movie, and it leads to maybe one of the funniest line readings of "You son of a bitch" I've ever heard in my life. I mean, I laughed hard the first time he did that. It's just like, "You son of a bitch," like just the way he says the word "bitch" at the end of it. Like he just couldn't just say "bitch." No, he had to emphasize it even more, to extend that to like, "You son of a bitch," like. Stuff like that makes me laugh out loud. Stupid stuff like that. And this is a very stupid movie. Yeah, it's not a great movie by any means necessary. It does have a ton of jokes that do not work very well at all. But the ones that do work, the silly jokes that they have in here, they did make me laugh. And it did get me to say that, okay, this is not a great movie by any means necessary. But like I said, if you go into it with the right mindset, you can enjoy the hell out of it, and I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie, and I'm so glad they didn't make a sequel to this, because I feel like a sequel would have really been pushing their luck. But you can thank this director's next movie, which features John Travolta in it, Old Dogs, for doing that. And if you saw one of my videos recently, you know that Old Dogs is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life. And most people agreed. It bombed hard. They were going to do a Wild Hogs 2 that was supposed to come out the next year, and then they canceled it. And I said, good on them. Good for them for making them for the realization that, yeah, the stick worked once before, and then doing it the second time around, it just didn't work the second time around. Yeah, we'll get to that one eventually. But if you don't want to wait, go ahead and check out the video I did about Old Dogs. I'll put a link to it up in the corner. But like I said, Old Dogs, Wild Hogs, though, stupid, silly, but a fun movie. I had a good time with it. It is ridiculous. It's like The Pacifier from a couple of years ago, and it coincidentally come out in the same time slot that this did, the same releasing pattern as this did. But I liked it. Very silly, very stupid, but very fun all the way through. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Zodiac. I mean, come on, guys. We all know the Zodiac Killer lives in Texas, and he's the governor of the state. Actually, he's the senator of the state. I ruined my joke right there. There's your obvious Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer joke right there. But let's get to the movie itself. Zodiac. This is, of course, based off this true story of the manhunt for the Zodiac Killer, a serial killer who terrorizes the San Francisco Bay Area during the 60s and 70s, taunting police with letters, bloodstained clothing, and ciphers mailed to newspapers. The case remains one of the United States' most infamous unsolved crimes, and so David Fincher, the writer of this, James Vanderbilt, and the producer, Bradley Fisher, spent 18 months conducting their own investigation and research into the Zodiac murders, and Fincher actually employed the digital Thompson Viper film stream camera to photograph most of the film, and used traditional high-speed film cameras for slow-motion murder sequences. And if you see his movies later on down the road, I mean, it definitely continues to do that to this very day, and just goes to show what a great director he is. And, have a cast that includes a top group of people: Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Edwards, Brian Cox, Elias Koteas, Donald Logue, John Carroll Lynch, Chloe Sevigny, Philip Baker Hall, Dermot Mulroney. A lot of really good talent in this movie. Everything about this movie just works so well. The script writing is great. The direction is really good. Does a pretty good job of correctly, accurately putting together San Francisco in the 1960s and 70s, and also just it's a very engaging mystery for a mystery that is still very much going on to this day. Nobody knows who the Zodiac Killer is, even to this very day. And the fact that they were able to make a movie as good as this and just continue that is to just make a good film around it the way that David Fincher does here. It just goes to show what a great director he really is, because David Fincher really is one of the best directors we've ever had out there. And this is one of those movies that really shows that this guy can do it all, man. Like, he very rarely ever misses. I mean, his worst film he ever did was Alien 3. And even with Alien 3, it wasn't that that was not really his fault in general. It was his first movie as a director. It was a film that was dealt with a lot of production problems. But a movie like this really goes to show how far he's come in the 15 years since then as a film director, and what he's done even since then. This was not a big hit when it came out either. It actually kind of flopped, and mostly everyone thought this was going to be a shoe-in for the Oscars, but fortunately it didn't make the money that the studio was hoping for, so I guess they really just kind of abandoned it going to the Academy Awards. But that's a shame, because a lot of people had this in their top 10 list. I mean, this was one of the best movies of the year, and the fact that it got completely snubbed over was really something that just goes to show that the Academy has really short attention spans, because either you release a movie in September, it's as early as September, because if you do it any other point in the year, at least back then, they're not gonna go ahead and nominate it, no matter how good the movie is. I mean, that's just the cold hard truth of the Academy Awards. At least back then it was. Nowadays they've kind of opened up a little bit, but still, there's a lot of good movies that come out before September that kind of get overlooked by the Oscars. But that's not the whole point I'm trying to bring up here. The point I'm trying to bring up here is that this is a really good movie. This is definitely one of David Fincher's best movies, one of the best movies of the year. Maybe his most underrated movie, considering that it didn't do as well as it did. But it really was a really good movie. It's a fantastic film, stacked with a great cast, a very engaging mystery that still continues to this very day. It just works so well. I really enjoy it a lot. A lot of people do too. It's Zodiac. Really good film. So with that said, let us move on to the most controversial movie of the weekend, no doubt about it. Samuel L. Jackson literally putting Christina Ricci in a locking her up in a chain and dragging her throughout the movie in Craig Brewer's follow-up to Hustle and Flow. This is Black Snake Moan. Yeah, this movie had a weird marketing campaign that unfortunately didn't work to the film's advantages, despite the fact that this director had done Hustle and Flow, which won an Academy Award for Best Original Song a few years ago. It was a well-received movie. This one, not so much. It focuses on a Mississippi bluesman played by Samuel L. Jackson who holds a troubled local woman played by Christina Ricci captive in his house in an attempt to cure her of nymphomania after finding her severely beaten on the side of the road. And the movie, I think, really had a really bad marketing campaign, not just because of the poster really just kind of sexual exploitation when you really look at it in the long sense of things. I mean, it feels like something where, yeah, people could take that the very wrong way, but the film kind of sold itself as this exploitative movie, like a movie that takes you back to like the days of like Rudy Ray Moore, Dolomite, that type of stuff, and there's kind of that in there, but not a lot of it, really. When you really watch the movie, it really does not feel like there is a lot of that in particular. And it kind of underplays what is all the good stuff about the movie, because there is a lot of really good stuff about the movie. The casting in this, pitch perfect. I mean, Christina Ricci, I think, is fantastic in this movie. I think she plays a very good character in this that has a lot of problems, and she plays the role very well here. Samuel L. Jackson is always going to be great whatever he's in. You got Justin Timberlake in here showing that, hey, this guy's got some acting chops to work with, and a really good soundtrack featuring a lot of great blues music all around. But yeah, the fact that the movie kind of really it does get very uncomfortable at times, and it does feel like a movie that is trying to be kind of like those old exploitive movies of the grindhouse movies of the 60s and 70s, and doesn't really succeed all that much, but it did a better job of it. I mean, Grindhouse, which comes out a month later, I think does a much better job of it. But as far as this movie goes, it really didn't do that part very well. But you got to give everybody credit for just going all in on this. I mean, Christina Ricci herself has said that she actually wore a 40-pound chain during the filming and ate only foods of no nutritional value to achieve the sickly appearance. And this was before the days where CG and AI can really just completely change your whole persona on the big screen. So you got to give her a lot of credit for going all in on this. And yeah, it actually is a lot better than I think most people let on. Is it as good as Hustle and Flow? No, Hustle and Flow I think is a far superior film, but this movie has a lot of good flashes here and there to make me say that, yeah, it's a movie that definitely deserves to be watched, especially if you like Hustle and Flow. If you like the actors involved in here, I think you do get a lot more than you're asking for with this film. The marketing campaign, though, was really... I think Christina Ricci kind of said it best when she said that, the movie was basically... the way they marketed the movie was probably one of the more disappointing and upsetting things that ever happened to her. And, like, she said that she had no interest in exploiting women any further than they'd already been exploited. And all the marketing bosses cared was about college-age boys going to see the movie. And, I mean, she's not wrong. I mean, the poster literally is Samuel L. Jackson holding Christina Ricci with a chain, and the only difference is that she's not in her panties like in the movie. She's wearing short jeans. I mean, that's about as much of exploitive as you're gonna get. But if you watch the movie in full and actually pay attention to it, there is a lot of value to the film itself. Like I said, not a great movie overall, but definitely a much better film than I think people let on. Not as good as Hustle and Flow, but it's a movie I do recommend. I think it's a very good film, boasted by the strong performances of the three leading actors. Black Snake Moan, I think it's a very good film. And so with all of that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll take a look at two big new movies, including Zack Snyder's 300, of course, maybe the most influential movie of the entire year, and the most quoted movie of the year. We also have the Japanese hit The Host, which features a directorial effort by Bong Joon-ho, who would later go on to direct Snowpiercer and Parasite. We'll take a look at both of those movies. That'll be coming up on tomorrow's show. But until then, Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification button so you get updates on when new videos come out, because we do post videos every day, so hit that notification bell to get updates on when new videos come out. And don't go too far away, because coming up on Time About the Movies Flashback, we got a big weekend of movies to look at. September 18th, 1987, featuring the blockbuster hit Fatal Attraction, The Pickup Artist, the first film featuring Pinhead, Hellraiser, The Principal, Amazon Women on the Moon, Maurice, In the Mood, and Orphans. We got 8 movies to look at on Time About the Movies Flashback. That's going to be coming up right after I post this, so please stick around because we will be right back with more.